Welcome to the Justice in Heels podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Hayward, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for season 2. In this season, we focus on sharing stories and exploring strategies that empower those in the legal field to not just survive, but thrive in their careers. So, whether you're a seasoned lawyer, a fresh graduate navigating the legal landscape, or just someone curious about the world of law, Season 2 of this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration and support. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Justice in Heels podcast. Today I am joined by one of my favorite people in the world, and her name is Ursula Botha. Ursula, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Danielle, for having me here. You are one of my favorite people.
Thank
And
you.
it's so lovely to be here, to wear my heels, even though you can't see them, and have a chat with you.
Amazing. So before we start, can you please just tell us a bit more about yourself and tell us a bit more about your business, Confident Voices?
Thank you. So, confident voices, yes, I am a communication skills and confidence coach. Now, often people say to me, what qualifies you to do this kind of work? It's amazing work. And part of my backstory is that I used to be the shy kid, and I can tell you, and I know that all of these skills are learnable skills to express ourselves. So my journey is in acting. I am still an actress. I still do voice work. It's my craft, and it's something I cannot get away from. I love it with my whole heart and soul. But I also have this gift and I have this mission to teach people and coach people and help them express their best selves, because it really is a learnable skill and it's an area of growth that has effects in your personal life and your professional life.
Definitely. Thank you so much for introducing yourself.
Thank
I
you.
think everybody now knows a bit more about you. So let's get into the topic of today. So
Yes.
today we are chatting about how legal professionals and even law students specifically can use presentation skills and just having a personal brand basically to better their chances of firstly getting clients in the legal space, having more confidence, and just being the best that they can be. So, Ursula, can you first tell us, according to you, what is a confident voice?
Uh-huh. I love it. So my definition of the confident voice is the free and empowered voice. And so for our legal listeners out here, it could be the liberated voice. Freedom, liberation, liberated voice. No constructs. And so what does that mean? So it means it's an inner liberation. And then also through your body, you liberate that. And the voice can refer to the inner voice that is inside of us, that is aligned with our core and our being, because expression is expressing of your beingness. And then there's the voice that we hear, and these voices of ours are so incredible. Yes, it's an instrument, and it also says a lot about us. You can often hear in somebody's voice if they're lying. You can hear if I'm not going to trust you. You can hear that they're not trusting themselves. And that is a big part of the confident voice, because confidence goes back to the Latin word confidere. Confidere means a feeling of I trust, to trust oneself. And so here's what it means in the world of law. It means also being really aligned with your ethics, and we'll speak about ethics and values a bit later, because I think it's a very important part of this work, and all my work is grounded in that. But the voice can tell, you can tell through the voice if somebody's anxious. And when you're anxious and you're bringing out a case, I don't know if I can trust you, because you can't trust yourself. So trusting yourself, trusting that you can navigate with your intuition a case and put that forward, it's really an important part. And when it comes to for attorneys, for lawyers, for advocates, your voice and your speaking is your livelihood. So it's really also your craft. What do you
Definitely,
think?
definitely, 100%. I think, like in a lot of professions, but especially law, you need to put your client at ease. And if they can see that you are not confident, they are not going to trust you. And you want your client to trust you. But I just want to focus on the misconceptions about having a confident voice and having confidence in general. So I think a lot of people think that to be confident or to be seen as confident, you have to act, as they would say, cocky or arrogant. So, do you want to perhaps say something about that? Perhaps just tell us a bit more about some misconceptions that you've heard and why you feel that it is misconceptions.
Mm. No, so that's Dave. I don't know why I'm getting goosebumps talking about this, but the I call arrogance the confidence in sheep's clothing. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's often will and many times you will look at somebody and go, wow, they're so confident, but you do need to sometimes question mark it. There is a faking it element sometimes that we see, and that's why I think it's so important to go back to your intuition. If something doesn't feel right about someone, you've got to question that. And so yes, a lot of people that I work with, they think that confidence looks like, like this arrogance and this I know it all. And even though you trust yourself, it doesn't mean you know it all. It's being open to go seeking the answers where you got to find it. But so that's definitely something we work with, is realigning what does confidence actually look and sound like. So the one part is arrogance, so watch out for them. And I often think when you walk away from somebody, you go, wow, they're so confident, they made me feel a bit insecure about myself. I don't think confidence makes other people look worse. I think confidence lifts other people up as well. So it's an upliftment and it's an empowerment. So that is definitely a key thing to look at. Then when we look at confidence, people sometimes shy away from, but I don't want to be boastful. I don't want to own my space and own my power because I don't want to look arrogant. So that's the other side of the coin. And you have to own who you are and your credibility and your competence. There's no need to play small here. And that's something I work with people, to own your, yes, credibility and competence in a way that has gravitas and authenticity rather than that boastfulness. So it's a fine balance, but we owe it to ourselves.
Can you tell us a bit more about the success that you've achieved with some of your legal clients specifically? You don't have to give names. You can just give us like fake names.
Okay, fake names. Ooh, let's go with John. No, I need to tell, because it's not John, it's a female. So let's start over again. Let's start with Andrea. Okay. Andrea is a really powerful woman, empowered woman, but there are a few things that stood in her way within the legal world, because she's beautiful and she's blonde like you, Danielle, and she's short. So for a long time, she thought all these things are standing against me in quite a male-dominated space where I've got to be strong and I've got to stand there for my clients and win a case and really be assertive in what I'm doing. And so she really wanted to get into the voice and develop this really confident voice so that she can own and hold that space. Okay, so we did also look at a few things of what is also the advantage of owning the fact that you can't do anything about your makeup, being blonde, being a beautiful woman, but just owning that in that space as well. And then with the voice part is to really liberate the voice through breath. Breath is everything. and I feel sometimes like I wish I could give people a better answer. But when you speak on the out breath, when you are calm, when you are within your body, when you let go of all these ideas of what you should look like and what you should be like, and you're just in the body. So then we're going through the process of developing gravitas. So being really rock solid, rooted in your field of knowledge and rooted in your body and your breath and speaking from that place. And I mean, she's just flying, and she's actually my biggest like spokesperson, if I can say that, because she understands, and it's helped her connect with her voice. But she really did the work as well. She did her vocal warm-ups every day. She worked at it. We helped her with her up speak. So women tend to sometimes end on the up because we're not always, it sounds like we're speaking in questions. And it's, Danielle, let's see, for our podcast listeners, you are nodding your head. You've heard this, or you know about this. And sometimes it's becoming aware of how we speak in a sing-song. And the sing-song doesn't give us that credibility and that competence. So it's to break our own speaking patterns. And you can do that through understanding the voice, understanding sound. So on the vowels, we often carry emotion. So you can lengthen a vowel. This will break up the rhythm. So why is this so important to this case? Why is it so important to the case? Why is it so important to the case? And our consonants, they bring clarity to our ideas. So to not throw away our consonants, the D and the B and the G and the K, but to use them to bring clarity to your ideas.
Definitely. And I mean, like, I agree with you. There's a lot of women out there, specifically, I mean, men as well, but especially women, who are seen as like weak, or perhaps they are seen, or people think that they are the secretary when they walk into a law firm and they see a lady there. That's something that I've also like experienced a lot. And I know a lot of people who've experienced it. Like, you always are seen as like on a lower level than you actually are. And I think there's a lot of small things that we actually do as women, like you said, that actually add to people seeing us as, the secretaries only. So can you share a few more things with us that women specifically tend to do? So you've mentioned the sing song and the speaking in questions, but can you name a few more?
Another one that I see a lot is we have to go to body language, because the voice is in the body and confidence is in the body. And oftentimes, if you just walk into a room, you are already communicating something quite powerful. And so, what a lot of women tend to do, and it's so subconscious. It's so subconscious. When we look at the work of Amy Cuddy on presence, on body language, and some of you might be familiar who are listening to this with Amy Cuddy's, she's got this TED talk on the power poses. Now, if you actually go deeper into her work, there's really a great body of work that she's done, and with Harvard. And so I've got a page from her book where she shows all the power poses, and then on the other side of the page she shows all the powerless poses. And when I do my Speak with Confidence courses and I go into corporate spaces, and then we go, okay, we're going to do all the power poses, and then we do all the power poses. And one thing that all the women always say is all of these poses are extremely masculine. There is not one feminine power pose in any of those poses. So it's all like the legs being spread out. It doesn't feel very feminine. But I do see that the women and some women who are in powerful places, the body language goes small and small and small. the hands are clasped together and the legs are tight and we squeeze ourselves so small, and it just happens subconsciously. So I want our listeners, anyone who's listening right now, just become aware of your posture. Am I holding tight, and how can I expand? And the expansion doesn't have to be in the male way. There's not only one way, and there's not only a masculine way of doing it. But I often, when I find myself in a high stake situation where I have to have a bit of authority and I'm feeling a little bit threatened, and my body wants to go small and I want to hold on to myself, I realize I need to move. And I know not everybody's watching right now, but I just maybe need to take my arms over the chair, or just change it in a way and just become aware of my posture. Just take a bit of space, and not in a masculine, trying to be something else, but just in your own way. But take space. It's a thing of a chin up. There's nothing more beautiful than a woman chin up, shoulders back, posture straight. And your posture, when you breathe into your diaphragm is the dome-shaped muscle that's below your lungs. When you breathe into that area, into your stomach, let your stomach blow up like a balloon, you can't help but your posture to align and to take up space. And that already automatically gives you that gravitas, gives you that value, gives you that ownership. And something else, as women, we don't need to overcompensate. Just because somebody thinks we're the secretary, we don't need to overcompensate for that. And now try and overshow that we've got this. Sometimes there's a quiet confidence that you just have a twinkle in your eye and a knowing on the inside that doesn't need to prove yourself to anyone. And this is a work in progress, and I'm a work in progress on this as well. And I get to coach and work with incredible people, but I also sometimes get the feedback but Ursula, because I look younger than I am, and I've got a young energy and I've got like sparkly eyes, and I have this excitement. And they go, how can you coach these execs with all of that gravitas? Like, who do you think you are? And then I've got to go, well, I know who I am. So I'm the one who gets the good stuff out of them. So I don't need to overcompensate, but there is always awareness of what is your presence and how do we navigate that. I hope this is answering your question, Danielle.
It does. And yeah, it's super important. And something that you've mentioned or the message that I got from what you just said is confidence is actually something that needs to come from within. It's not something that you can really, you can fake confidence, but like it will only help you up to a certain point. And then people are going to see that it's not authentic confidence. And like if you don't feel confident, it's just going to make you tired. It's going to make you anxious every time you need to speak to someone, or you need to give a presentation, or you need to appear in court. But tell me, do you think that a lot of people have become less confident in COVID?
Absolutely. And I know this. I know this because I started my business in COVID because of this issue.
Oh.
Because of COVID, I started getting clients who came to me because they're high-end clients, or even advocates who, they had a little stumble. Something happened during COVID, and all of a sudden a space for a confidence coach opened up for me. All right. And it's something I see every day in my work, through my courses, through my clients, who say, since COVID, I have not been able to get that confidence back. But on your point, Danielle, about the faking the confidence, I've also had clients, and this is interesting, this has been happening recently, who've been saying to me, before COVID, I had a confidence that I could fake. I got away with it for a long time. But since COVID, I can't fake it anymore. I took a stumble and I can't fake it anymore. So now I need to deal with the real stuff. And I think that's interesting. COVID changed us, and nobody can walk out of, we can't, after what we've gone through on a human level, a collective human level, you're gonna walk out a changed person and have realized a lot of things for yourself. And I think a lot of people have realized, okay, this is what I want and this is what I don't want anymore. And and people want to walk in their truth and in their alignment. So there is an upgrade. I do believe there is an upgrade since then, and this is work. This is the inner work. Trusting ourselves is a journey.
It is. So let's say, for example, somebody is listening to this podcast and they are curious, like how can you help them to be more confident?
Well, I use tools. All my work, I don't use a cookie cutter approach because the human journey is different and we all are on different levels and we put in different amounts of work. So don't have a cookie cutter approach, but I do have tools, and that's I love it because part of confidence is practice. So we practice in safe spaces. You know, this is very much my approach, Danielle. So it's about practicing these skills in safe spaces, practicing. I mean, one of my favorite tools is an elevator pitch because an elevator pitch is so deep to who we are, and we struggle to sometimes chat to someone in an elevator and be able to extract our amazingness in that 2 seconds. So I think it's a really great tool. And even now we are chatting towards the end of 2023. I don't know when this podcast is launching, but we're moving into a lot of end of year functions and a lot of networking. So and you got to put yourself out there, put yourself out there. But you were asking me about a coaching process. So we would usually like I would take somebody on a journey. And usually the type of my clients come to me who are moving into exco. They're in exco position, they have to present. So we look at how they conduct themselves in that meeting. We do the preparation on bringing their ideas across, how they present. And it's amazing to see the awareness. They become aware. So many people think they're getting away with winging it. Winging it does not serve you and it doesn't serve anyone. And even though you think, oh, I'm doing so great because I'm just winging it. I'm sorry, but I'm seeing how it looks when people wing it and it doesn't. You're not doing yourself favors because you are undermining your credibility and your competence. A small thing, here's another example, and because we learn through examples, a small thing that undermines most people's credibility and competence is bad speaking habits, like saying just that one. Filler words. Danielle, you know how I feel about that. Women who tend to say like, they sound like a teenager when they keep saying like, and you know. So there are these fillers and these habits of speech that diminish us and they take away from the power of what we're saying. And not making eye contact and not knowing what to do with our hands when we speak. So there are so many things that we can come across less powerful than we really are. So the first step in this journey is becoming aware. It's becoming aware and then letting go and then starting a new way of being and expressing. And that way of expressing is aligned with your values and it's aligned with your integrity and it's just full of spark and that can just take you forward. It's a beautiful way of growth.
I think you've shared so many amazing tips with us today, and I think that everybody listening to this is going to learn so much. But can you give us one hack when preparing for, let's say, a presentation or when you know that you need to go to a networking event? One single tip that you can use when preparing.
How can you ask me one? I can't give you one. I want so many. Well, the thing is, I think I love that you asked this question because here's the thing, Danielle, people don't prepare. Like I said to you earlier, we just wing it. And I had the most incredible coffee with the CEO of an amazing company a few weeks ago. And he said to me, also, he said his biggest thing is that he sees that people don't prepare enough, quite enough. And he told me how he blocks out time in his calendar to prepare. And if he's not prepared for a meeting or for a presentation, he'll actually rather cancel. And then people who know him told me as well that they've been at events with him and he will leave earlier so that he can go prepare for a meeting.
Wow.
So we need to prepare. So thank you. So the first thing we've got to do is we actually have to schedule it in our diaries, because let me tell you, we don't think it's important. Like, if it's not scheduled, it doesn't get done. And the earlier you can start your preparation, allow yourself to do 30 minutes of, okay, I'm just going to do my bad first draft version, because the first draft is always bad. In Hollywood, we call it the SFD, the shitty first draft. So allow yourself to write the shitty first draft, but then allow yourself to go sleep on it and go for a walk and let it work through your subconscious mind. And then you will come up with better ideas and better ideas and better ideas. And only once we get to know our content, only once we understand what we're going to say, only then can we start playing with eye contact and delivery and voice and all the juicy things that makes you next level when you speak. But and here's the last thing that I want to give to our listeners, is to see your speaking as a craft. And whether you're a lawyer, an advocate, wherever you are, see it as a craft, and use every opportunity, every speaking opportunity, whether it's on a podcast interview or to say a toast at your daughter's wedding or at a friend's birthday party. Be the person to lift your hand, raise your hand and say, I quickly want to say a toast, and practice your speaking craft. Or even more accessible, go send a friend a voice note and play with your delivery.
Powerful, great tips. Practicing is so important. And that's also something that I'm doing at the moment. Like, I used to hate voice notes, listening to them and making them. And now I really make an effort to send voice notes rather than just typing something out, because that allows me to practice my voice and for a lot of people whose native language is not English, to also practice your English. Yeah. So I just want to thank you again for joining me on this podcast. You've shared so many amazing things of us, and we learned so much from you. And can you just tell me, where can our listeners reach you? Where can they follow you? Do you have a website?
Thank you, Danielle. And I just want to say, I am very proud of your growth. I'm super proud of your growth. I love what you're doing on this podcast. So you just go, girl, because you are an inspiration to so many of us. And for our listeners, you can find my website, confidentvoices.co.za. And I love LinkedIn. Danielle, I love LinkedIn. So please go connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Ursula Botha. It's Ursula Botha on LinkedIn. And you can request a connection. I will connect back with you. I'd love that. So, and just to get to know some of your community. That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Justice in Heels podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with your friends on social media and tag us. As this podcast has a legal element, just a quick disclaimer that all views expressed in this podcast are not necessarily the views of the firms, companies, or brands that we are associated with. Until next time, goodbye.